the Egyptians have what we call the Alchemies of Horus. Yeah, buddy, we about to go in now. Now, so many people believe that, we believe the Egyptian gods are real and that we worship them. Then you have people who study Kemet who actually believe in these Egyptian gods. It's funny because you think people are brilliant sometimes. And when you start reading a lot of the esoteric books and a lot of the European books on ancient Kemet and the whole mystery school and everything like that, they got it completely wrong. Like, these people literally talk about Osiris and Horus and stuff like that as being actual rulers, beings that actually exist. Anybody that's telling you that Osiris, Horus, Jet, Nekbet, or what have you, any of these gods actually exist has no clue what they're talking about. These gods, the Egyptian gods never existed. They are not real, beings that existed, that walked. You have to understand that there are principles of nature and reality that exist, but they exist within us. Now, this is the Jed, spelled D-J-E-D. Now, this is basically the earliest representation of Osiris. This is Osiris. When you look on the before you get the actual body of Osiris, you'll see this as representing Osiris. So now this is, when you look at it, it's a part of the spine. This is the Puranic tube, which basically represents the spine as well, or the spiritual spine. It deals with masculine and feminine energy. It deals with, awakening your kundalini. It deals with the Sikkim, or what the Egyptians call, the chi, the life force, energy, or what have you. So this is the Jed. And when you get into, you probably heard about it or seen it before in a lot of Egyptian glyphs or whatever. But when you get into the Jed stone, remember before I was talking about how these gods are in us. Again, Osiris, the spine. This is basically what it's representing. It's all going to make a lot of sense in a second. But this is what it's talking about. So the Jed represents Osiris, or the spine. Now, a lot of depictions that you'll see of Osiris, you'll see behind him the Jed. And again, it's representing the spine, your spine behind you. So again, as I keep saying, I make videos for a reason. Now, when you're talking about consciousness creating energy, creating matter, when it's dealing with material, what are we talking about here? What part of the brain are we talking about? And we understand that consciousness creating material is dealing with the lower brain. It's dealing with the serpentine energy, the reptilian energy of the brain. So now when you understand this, when you understand what the Jed is, and when you understand energy and consciousness, then this right here will make a lot more sense to you. Take a look. Now, when a lot of people saw this, they first thought was electricity. And that's not a bad thought. As I'll explain later. You're not wrong to say electricity here. But this represents Osiris, and Osiris having the control over consciousness and energy. This is why the hands are grabbing the serpent. It's having control over the reptilian energies, the reptilian brain. You cannot have control or move your arms or, control on a physical sense, as you would think you're controlling something with your hands. You're physically controlling something. But on a spiritual sense, they tried to represent it with the arms grabbing the serpent or the serpentine energy. So when you look at this, again, when you understand what the Jed is, because that is the Jed column right there, or the Jed pillar. They have different names for it, but it's talking about the same thing. This is Osiris grasping control of the serpentine energy. Now understand, this design, our spine, is perfectly designed to handle energy. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the transfer of consciousness. Consciousness transferring energy into physical material, movement, matter, or what have you. So again, as I said, I make these videos for a reason. So in the meditation DVD, I talked about consciousness, energy, and material. I talked about how a thought of sex, which is consciousness, creates energy, And that energy travels to the hippocampus, down the fibers of the choroid plexus, to the fornix, down the spine, to the sacral nerve. That's energy, and causes an erection. That is the material or physical. Now, you have to understand again, this is about consciousness, energy, and material. It's just that simple. So it's the same process when you are actually having sex. Most people think that, well, it's just the vagina and the penis, the reason why everything feels so great. But what is actually taking place is you are coming together on a, conscious, energetic, and, material or physical level. So you're talking about the transfer of energy. Our spine is designed perfectly to handle the transfer of energy. The Jet is talking about that. Now, when you go out and you look at power plants, you see this design. Look around, you'll see it. Look at power plants. You'll see that design looks just like the Jet. Look at spark plugs. You see the same design. When you look around in a lot of movies that you've probably seen before, you'll see this design is dealing with the energy of the brain or the consciousness creating this energy that travels down the spine, which causes you to move. Plain and simple. To react with reality, the physical world. And this is what it's talking about. Power Rangers. Zordon, you see the electric things on the side. You'll see this stuff a lot in a lot of places. Back again to Demolition Man. Remember, on Demolition Man, remember the little glow sticks they had? Those sticks that he used when he shot the guy on top of the head. You see the electric created there. But you look at the design, it's just like the Jet. Trying to tell you something. But this design is perfect for transferring energy, and they understand that. And it's basically represented by, the spine, the spinal column, or the Jet, which is Osiris. And Osiris is a few things, but this aspect is what it's talking about when it's referring to Osiris. It's talking about the control of energy, plain and simple. So now when you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, when you look at plate 2, which is the hymn to Osiris, you see the Jet there. You see the Jet. You don't see the normal representation or drawing of Osiris, but the Jet is there. This is the hymn to Osiris, so it's talking about Osiris. So, the Jet, you'll see it all over the place. I mean, when you kind of sort of look at the base of a light bulb, it looks like a Jet. You look at the king on a chessboard, it looks like a Jet in certain chessboards. You see it in so many different places. The Jet is also called, as I said, the Jet column or the Jet pillar. The Jet is also called the House of Osiris. And it's funny when you look at Chinese pagodas, they sort of kind of look like the Jet a little bit when you look at them. So, it's everywhere. It's in so many different places when you take a look at it. And, you see it in a lot of places around the world. The medical caduceus, you see, it's basically representing the serpentine energy, the masculine and feminine energy, Kundalini rising. And you see it's basically going up, basically the spine, what it's supposed to represent. And the two wings basically will be the corpus callosum. And it's leading to the third eye. That's basically that little round thing, the little ball on the top is talking about. So Egyptian high alchemy is basically about gathering that energy, as I said. Gathering that energy so that just like the medical caduceus, you have the serpentine energy, you have the masculine, feminine energy, you have the higher brain, lower brain. The energies going up the spine or going up the Jet in order to reach basically the third eye. So you have the Jedi. This is where they get it from. This is what it's talking about, becoming a Jedi. Yoda was green like Osiris. He looked like a reptilian, didn't he? This is what it's talking about. This is what all this stuff is alluding to when you understand how to put it together. And when you start looking at movies and understand how to break down the esoteric meaning, the whole metaphysics of it. It's talking about the Jedi. And it's what the Jedi is talking about. They're talking about the Jed, spine, Osiris. They're talking about Kundalini rising, the energy. They're talking about Egyptian high alchemy, the gathering of this energy in order to rise in enlightenment, to gain control of consciousness and awareness. Awareness is a major thing. Let me explain something to you, because a lot of people don't think like me. A lot of people don't think like this, I should say. But you have to think about how much your brain processes a day. Now, it is said that the brain processes about 70,000 thoughts per day. 70,000. That's a lot. If you had conscious control over 70,000 thoughts, you would never move. You would sit still, because there is no way it will be time for energy to be sent, to the body to produce movement. You're too busy being stuck every millisecond on a thought. So, this tells you, this is how powerful the subconscious mind is. It is so much power there. I mean, even if you can't understand the implications of that, 70,000, and this goes into like vibration, vibrating on different frequencies, and we're going to get into all that down the line. But remember, like between 50 and like 90 hertz or something like that is supposed to be like where we are. Anybody that's 80 and over is considered a genius. If you're vibrating at about 55, 54, this is where sickness occurs. And if you're vibrating under 45, this is where cancer occurs. So this is what it's talking about. So you're talking about being at a state of being, a state of consciousness, a state of energy that, allows you to surpass normal man and become something different, something great. And this is what they're trying to keep you from. So when you just think about awareness and, being able to control, being aware of everything around you, being able to control what you are processing in the brain, it is something that a normal person cannot do. It's just something you can't do. And you notice how some people who, we call them slow, like autistic or schizophrenic sometimes, or crazy. These people are processing so many thoughts consciously. This is why if you've seen a guy who had autism, he was autistic, and they flew him around, I think it was London or something like that, then he came back and drew it from memory. It's no problem from him. And it's no problem for him. And you'll see this a lot with a lot of autistic people. They are geniuses, math geniuses, stuff like that. They're able to calculate a lot of things consciously. Their brain can calculate so much really fast. It's real easy for them. Take an IQ test. They'll let you know where you at. Then go meditate for a couple months and take that IQ test again and see how much smarter you became. I'm telling you, it's no joke. It's no joke. That's why I get into all this. You gotta, take it into your consciousness and accept this information as fact and truth. And understand more. As I tell you, don't listen to me. Don't accept none of this stuff. You don't have to. You can go do the research on your own. I try to spare you, that time and everything like that. So really look into it. But this is what it's all alluding to. And somebody got on me about wearing the Star Wars shirt. I think in one of my videos, I think I wore a Sith shirt or something like that. People don't understand. And if you didn't get it yet, Satan, Baphomet, the Sith, Jedi, what have you, all these things that is witchcraft, voodoo or what have you, all these things that is considered evil are evil to keep us from them. These are the real powers. As I said, nothing that they are doing is illegal. And I hate to say it, it's not. We are accepting this stuff. If I walk up to you and say, hey, can I punch you in the face? If you say, yeah, you got punched. If you say no, okay, that's it. This is what we're doing. We're saying yes to every punch in the face that we get from the system. We're accepting the poison. We're taking it in. So now, as I was talking about before, how the pharaohs had control of the reptilian brain, control of the limbic system, the higher brain. And when you look at the pharaohs, when you go back during that time, the pharaohs was referred to as, they was called the living Horus. So the living Horus, and this might be confusing to some people, because if you think that Horus is like, an actual person or being that existed, why would you call another person that living person, the living Horus? So it didn't make sense to a lot of people. But just like Osiris, Horus, Horus is basically in us. Horus, Ra, same thing. Horus, Ra, Jet, same thing. the sun. They represent the sun, but they also represent the pineal gland, the third eye, plain and simple. So when it's talking about the living Horus, referring to the pharaoh, it's talking about the living pineal, or the living third eye, having control of that third eye. So the pharaohs was called the living Horus, and Horus refers to the pineal gland. So this is going to take me into Wadjet and Nekbet and understanding what they are really about. So when you look at Wadjet, Wadjet is the original. She's the cobra, as you can see. She's the original third eye. She's the original Ra, or the original Horus, so to speak, the original representation of the pineal gland and the sun. That's Wadjet. When you look at Nekbet, the vulture, which the vulture is a bird. The vulture, or Wadjet, represents the limbic system, and the limbic system is called the bird brain. So you have Wadjet, which represents the pineal gland and third eye, Nekbet, which represents the limbic system, which is called the bird brain. Why the bird brain? The bird brain, because when you look at parrots, they have a limbic system, and their limbic system functions almost the same as humans, which is why parrots can talk, which is why parrots can basically hold a conversation. If you remember Iago from Aladdin, he was basically a human in a parrot body. The dude had a consciousness of his own, and an attitude, and a whole style. He had a swag. Iago wasn't no joke. Voiced by Gilbert Gottfried, who was hilarious. He can hold the conversation. He can ask questions. This is what they're alluding to as far as the power of the limbic system existing in a bird brain. It's not primitive as we think. Now, you remember a woman named Irene Pepperberg, I believe it's her name. She had the African gray parrot named Alex, I believe was his name. And remember, she taught that parrot a lot. Her and that parrot basically had conversations. The parrot asked questions, and they did a lot of things together. And she basically proved that, it's possible for parrots, and they believed that one time this was possible. Parrots would hold conversations, with people. They was able to do such a thing. And she basically went into that whole thing and basically proved it. And, it was a big deal, but this is what it's alluding to when it's talking about the limbic system being the bird brain, and, the limbic system, which controls your ability to comprehend and to learn and everything like that. This is why the parrots are able to do, such a thing, and learn and talk and understand and comprehend, and, just be, as like us on a small level, because their brains are small, but it just, again, goes to show you the power of the limbic system. So it is very possible that Wadjet and Nekbet, as Egyptologists will tell you, it is very possible that they represent the rulership of Upper and Lower Egypt. But I think, from my research, that Wadjet and Nekbet represents the rulership, or the control, of the upper and lower brain, the higher and lower brain. Wadjet is also representing the reptilian energy, not just the pineal gland that's higher, but the reptilian energy that's lower. Two things. As I said, you find some things that can represent two separate things, and I'm gonna prove this to you in a second. And then you have Nekbet, representing the limbic system, which would be considered higher, but she's lower on the Uraeus for a reason. And when you have the serpent representing basically higher and lower energy, the reptilian brain as well as the pineal gland coming together, and its power. Now, I have my big tut up here for a reason, so that I can show you this. So now we have Wadjet, Nekbet, right? Wadjet, again, representing the third eye, the power of the third eye, along with the control of the reptilian brain. And you'll see this a lot, and this is what I believe that the pharaohs had control over. Either it was about gaining this power, or that they had this power, which I think they did. And being able to wear this headdress symbolized that you did have this power, because we see it with some of the women rulers as well, but not with everybody in Kemet. So, you know, it's another thing that I'm going to get into in another video about the headdresses. We're going to get into that and what they mean, because they allude to things that has to do with nature and reality, which is what this stuff really is all about. We're going to get into that though. A lot of the headdresses is telling you stuff. You got to pay attention to the design and the way it's shaped, and you'll kind of sort of be able to pick it up as you learn what these headdresses really mean and why they wore them. But Jedi Jet, again, masculine, feminine energy, Kundalini rising, control of the reptilian brain, control of the third eye, and we see it here. Then you have Merkabah, symbolizing the limbic system, the bird brain, which is why it's a vulture, the bird. Now, when you pay attention to this, if you've seen this before, if any of you have this in your house, then you're going to understand what I'm about to show you. Here you have Jedi Jet, the serpentine energy. You see the headdress looking like a cobra, and when you turn it around, it's leading to what? It's leading to the Jed. And here you have the Jed right here. Look at where it's located, on the back, symbolizing the spine, Osiris. So this is what it's about. You have power, Jedi Jet, Merkabah, control of the brain, leading or creating the energies that's going to go down the spine and give you the power to rule, give you the power to do what you need to do in reality. There it is, right there. The Jed, Osiris. So when you start to put all this stuff together, it makes a lot of sense. So again, the Egyptian gods, they are in us. They are aspects of nature and reality that exists. They exist within us as well. This is what you really got to understand. You know, luckily, you know, the Egyptians left this stuff behind, and that, you know, a lot of the people who found it wasn't smart enough to comprehend, you know, what it's talking about, so-called Egyptologists. But this information is out there. You know, as I said, the Egyptians didn't reach their goal. They left it to us to fulfill what they was trying to fulfill. We are so lost right now. So, you know, messed up, excuse me, so to speak. And they have us in a bad spot. They understand the destiny we are supposed to fulfill, and they don't want us to fulfill it.